All right. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. It's the Titans of Publishing show. We're back. And I'm Bill. And say hi, Mark.
I'm not Bill. I'm Mark. Hello.
There you go. All right. So today I think we wanted to talk a little bit about writing approaches. So, we've talked in the past about publishing and what it is, what it means to us. And it's not just writing a book and publishing it, right? It's not just the publication of the book itself. It is, it's a whole lot of different things, but a lot of it has to do with writing. Even if you're doing video, you're probably going to script something. I know I do. And even I'll just go off an outline. Sometimes I'll ad lib, or sometimes I go off a script. But in large part, publishing writing is kind of like one of the components that needs to take place. So I think we wanted to talk today a little bit about, our approaches to writing. Like, how do we even get started? I know a lot of people in this industry or in this marketing business have a real problem with writing. They say, I can't write. And I don't find that to be the case for me. I've never found writing to be hard, but maybe it's because of my approach. Maybe it's not. So you have anything to add to that before we jump right in?
Teresa says hello, or Teresa. I write. The bulk of my career has been in writing. Most of what I do, whether it's for clients or for my own business, is writing. And I've gotten really good at it. It's kind of like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more you tone it up. But I still don't like it. But I think it's just me. and I will reveal. I'm gonna kind of like do kind of like something like in entertainment. I'm gonna reveal in the next excerpt or in the next part of the show why I don't like it and how I live with it.
That's good. That's really good. Because I know a lot of people don't like it. And, it's one of those things that if in one respect, I thrive on deadlines. And because most of the work I do is in large part for myself, there's self-imposed deadlines. And I actually do thrive in that environment where I have a day to do this, or I have 3 hours to do this. It's a way that I can actually motivate myself to get something done, because I don't think it comes naturally. I don't think writing comes naturally to most people. I think it does to some. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think there's a correlation between it comes naturally and you're good at it. So let's get that out of the way. I think a lot of writers have a really hard time writing. And I mean a lot of quality writers, people who write for a living, like they sell thousands and thousands, if not millions of books. They have a hard time writing, but they know it's a process. And a lot of authors, they go into the woods and they sit down and they write for 9 months. I don't know if I could do that. I'm more into the short-term projects, but it's all a process, and everybody has to find. You kind of have to find your own approach. So I think what we're going to talk about in this is a little bit about how each of us approaches writing, and kind of gets done what you kind of don't really want to do. You're supposed to brush your teeth every day, and you do, but you don't really want to. How do you do it? When do you do it? It's a routine. I just set a routine. So let's dive a little bit more into that and see how that goes.
Sounds good.
All right. So like I said, I usually start with a self-imposed deadline, where I have a mental there's a mental hurdle is when I'm not in control of that deadline. So if I know I have to write something for a client by tomorrow, I will put it off until the last minute. I just will. But what I do is, and I've done this with most of the writing I've ever done, is I stew on it. I don't forget about it. I stew on it. And I think it's a subconscious thing. I think what I do is I essentially, and I'll get to a more specific thing in a minute, but I set myself up for the subconscious to go through the whole process of writing, so that when I actually sit down to write, it's pretty much all written. So the specifics of that is, and this runs counter to anybody who quote unquote teaches writing. It used to drive my English teachers in high school and college crazy because I could not conform. I couldn't write index cards, or I couldn't write an outline. I couldn't write parts of a paper. I had to write the whole damn thing. And for me, it always started with what was logical to me, the opening paragraph. A lot of people say, get the meat out, get the content out there, get it all out there, brainstorm, flesh it out later, write, 17 drafts and scratch stuff off and rewrite it again. I don't write like that. If you see something that I've written, it's the first time I've written it. I'm being honest. It's the first time I've written it. I haven't put it down on paper or in a word processor or on the screen yet. But it's all up here. And it kind of just flows. I get into that thing that entertainers, authors, athletes talk about. I get into this thing called flow, where it just comes out. And I do very little editing. I almost never rewrite anything. If I do anything, I might, correct some spelling or change some words around a little bit so that it flows a little bit better, so it's easier to read and understand. But I don't do wholesale changes where I cross out paragraphs and move this over there. I don't do any of that stuff. It just kind of flows. So it all starts for me with the thought. What's my end goal? And then I work my way back. How do I write that first paragraph? And then I expand it. How do I write that first page? Once I get past that, it's off to the races and I'm done. It really is. What about you, Mark?
Well, there was some really good feedback there. I hope who's ever watching this, either live or via replay, take some notes, because there were some really good tips. So a couple of things before I go into my kind of personal style, but I want to talk about your personal style. And I think that's kind of a key thing, is what is your own individual style for writing? Because, somebody may say, hey, you can write, 1,000 words a day, or you can have a book done in, 7 days. You really have to look at what is your style and what are you comfortable with. Now, there's a caveat to that, because if you continue to procrastinate, if you continue to put things off, if you make up excuses for not writing, then clearly there's something else happening. But I have a different style, and that's what makes writing such a unique gift. Bill, are you familiar with this book? I recommend any writer read it, because you talk about how even professional writers, it's a struggle. It's called the you've heard the expression, the art of war. Well, this is the war of art. I think the author's name is Stephen Pressman.
Yeah.
And I believe he was like a screenwriter or something. And he just talks about the agony that he goes through every time he's got to write something. But he does it.
Yeah.
He does it. And he finds a way through it. And he's got some great tips in there. So those are a couple thoughts. For me, I think you can psych yourself up. It's like, oh, I've got to write X amount at this time. And for me, I find that even if I'm not writing, I'm getting ideas. And so I actually have a Word document open. Bill, I know you like to use OneNote. I use Evernote. If you keep something open and you get an idea, just, whatever it is, it could be a sentence, just type it, put it in there. You don't necessarily have to catalog it, but I find these little fragments that are actually valuable that I can come back to and flesh out later. So, that's one thing. I will tell you that my writing style changed, and I think it has to do with confidence. And let me explain. When I was, most of my advertising and marketing career was as a copywriter. And my style was very methodical, meaning that, I would do research. and then I would look at the competition, and then, I would make some initial thoughts, and then I'd go back and I do some more research, and it, I ended up getting to a good place, but I didn't get to that flow state that Bill talked about. And I think this probably comes with both experience and confidence. But I find if I have some familiarity with the subject matter, and sometimes even if I don't, if I just get into, it's kind of like exercise. If I just get on the bike and start pedaling, it's going to flow eventually. And so I do that. And, maybe that writing isn't necessarily, 100% on target. Maybe it's only 80%. But the physical act of writing, I think is important. The other thing is, what is your, what I would call golden hour? Not golden shower, because that's a topic for for something else. But I usually have a golden hour in the morning. That's my AM, and a golden hour in the evening. And really, that's uninterrupted time. And I try to, slot my writing into those golden hours. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes the golden hour gets, taken up with something else that's more marketing related. But having, like Bill said, having that structure, really helps. And, I think just cutting yourself some slack, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just if you go through and do it, you start noticing things. Now, one area where Bill and I differ is I do like to go back and edit, because I go back and I see things that I didn't the first time around. So I do like, I think, Bill, you said you like to stew on it. So, I do my stewing, and then I come back and then I edit, and I find that I can write tighter, cleaner, get to the point quicker. So those are some of my tips for what they're worth.
Yeah, that's great. I think the golden hour thing is great. So I'll expand that and say, I think, at least personally, I have 2 of those hours, and they're usually consecutive. So I have a 2-hour block where and studies show actually that most people, and this is weird, and you got to figure out how to make this work for yourself. But there are 2 periods in the day where you're at your peak. One peak is productivity. The other peak is creativity, and they almost never coincide. Mm-hmm. So you've got to figure out how to make that productivity and creativity work so that you're both in your writing and you get things done.
Is that because you're using different sides of your brain? Is that you're using a more analytical side with productivity, or what do you attribute that difference to?
Well, we'll start with the first part. Most people are at their peak productivity about 2 hours after they wake up. So if you wake up at 6 in the morning, you're probably going to be at your peak between 8 and 10. If you wake up at noon, you're going to be at your peak between 2 and 4. That's just that. It probably has to do with, I think it has to do with energy levels. Pure and simple. After you wake up, you're kind of groggy. You need your coffee or your pick-me-up, or you do a morning routine, whatever you do, and then an hour or 2 goes by and you're like on it. I think that's why people start work, typically at a work day at 8 or 9 o'clock, because you get up at 7. The vast majority of people get up around those times. When you're most creative, at least for most people, is later in the day. And I think it has to do with you're more relaxed. You may be more tired, but you're more relaxed. You're kind of like, I've accomplished these things. I got all these things done. Now my mind is free to be creative. It's not so structured. It's not so rigid. And I can just kind of like, that think outside the box thing. I found that I was most creative, or that I am most creative, around 9 p.m.
We should do a survey, because I'm the opposite, and maybe I've fused the productivity and the creativity. I'm most creative in the morning. Now, not right as I wake up, but maybe an hour, like you said, once you go through that routine, for me, everything's fresh. I haven't had things pile on me, during the day. I haven't had phone calls and clients and, oh, look how behind I am on my task list and all this other stuff kind of swirling around, taking up space. In fact, I've often marveled at the fact of how long it's taken me to write something in the morning compared to the evening. It could actually, and I'm not kidding, Bill, it could actually take me twice as long to write the exact same thing evening versus morning. And then again, this may be kind of a personal thing, how your body's wired, what have you. But I think what's coming out of this conversation is there's not necessarily a universal law. And I think that's probably the problem that we find with a lot of like writing systems or books, or here's how to write a book, is they're trying to, put you, you may be a square peg in a round hole, and you find this friction because they're asking you to do things that just don't come naturally to you.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I think you gotta find your kind of your sweet spot where you're at your peak productivity and creativity. And I think one of the ways you figure that out is, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, and that's practice. You have to write often and a lot, frequently, different times of the day, different states of energy. Some people, believe it or not, write better when they're really tired, like physically tired, not mentally tired, not emotionally tired, maybe emotionally distraught or conflicted. Some people could write better, and again, it depends on your purpose. Like if you're trying to write a technical how-to book, you probably don't want to be pissed off when you're doing it, because it's you're not going to do a good job. But if you're writing like a graphic type, fiction piece, that's around an action type story, you might find that to be the best time to write that kind of do that kind of writing. But the key is practice. You got to find out, when you're at your peak in terms of, creativity and productivity, when you have your highest energy, and at the end of the day, really what it is when do you write the best? And when do you, and if you're one of those people, and most people are like this, they're not like me. Most people are more like you, Mark, where you write and you edit, you rewrite, and you go back through it several times. If you're that kind of a writer, it's really important to find out, what times of the day that you're best at those various pieces, because it takes a different kind of approach to just freeform write and go back and edit. Mm-hmm. It's like a completely different thing, right?
It really is. And, I think there is a caveat with editing is I think you can get into a loop where you're constantly in editing. So, I would put either a time limit or a number of revisions limit. Like, you know what? I'm going to go through this twice and that's it. Then I'm moving on to the next block, whatever that next block represents. And, because I've experienced this personally where I've gotten into some kind of editing loop. I'm like, this is nuts. I mean, it's not Shakespeare, but, I've done it as best as I can. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. So you just mentioned Shakespeare. One of the authors I hated reading when I had to read them, but now I look back and I think I actually kind of write like him. And I'm not saying I'm that quality, but just kind of the style, the brevity of words, the concise is Hemingway. I hated reading his stuff when I was in high school. I hated it. And I hated analyzing all the stuff, but I guess it kind of like clicked because I write like that. I'm very brief and terse and get to the point. But one of the keys there again is, if you want to be a better writer, read more and read all sorts of different things. Don't just read what you like. Don't just read what you want to write, but read all sorts of, different genres, different kinds of writing. It's not even a bad idea once in a while to pick up a technical document that's, more along the lines of like a spec on a I don't know, piece of hardware, because it's a different kind of writing. And from what I've seen, most of it is done really poorly. But when you find a really good one, it's gold. And store that away. And every piece of writing, always have that, that swipe file.
Have
store
you
away your notes.
Have you seen? I thought this was an amazing shot on Netflix. There's, Jerry Seinfeld's moving all his stuff over to Netflix, and there's his comedy special, which was Seinfeld before, or it was, I'm getting the title mixed up. It's I think it's like Jerry before Seinfeld or something. Anyway, it really
that's it.
It focuses on his early kind of stand-up career, but there's an amazing shot where they must have had to block off a street. He's sitting on the ground on the street with every handwritten page of jokes that he's ever written that stretches down the entire street forward and backwards, because he's going back to the 1970s. And he picks this up and goes, oh yeah. And he reaches a joke. He goes, yeah, that wasn't bad. So, I mean, here's one of the most brilliant, comedic writers in his craft. Now, granted, his idea file is a little bit cumbersome. And I'm thinking, what if a kind of a gust of wind comes up in there? Because I don't think he's got backup. I really. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But that gets me to my next point, and that is, I find, and I'm curious what your answer is, and and the people that have joined us. I find that if I diversify how I write, so I'm very fast on the keyboard. I actually am old enough. I took a typing class, so I can type very quickly. I don't, hunt back. But I find if I change the kinesthetic approach, if I actually write, traditionally, like in a notebook or something, I'm not writing a manuscript, but I find when I write the old way, it's different than when I'm writing via the keyboard. And I think with writing the old way, I tend to be focused more on ideas and more high level and more conceptual things. And then when I'm at the keyboard, sometimes it's more kind of tactical and executional. So I'm kind of curious if you have a similar dynamic, or it's all just kind of flowing through the computer.
That's a great question. This is one of those things where it's do as I say, not as I do. I know that a lot of people are proponents of writing things down, pen and paper, and I think it's a great idea, but I never do it. And I probably should, and I think I would probably be a better writer for it. But I know that a lot of people, a lot of very successful writers, they do write things down with pencil or pen and paper, and I think it does. I think it is a separation, kind of a separation of brain duties.
Yeah, you're using different synapses. Your brain has to function differently. It's just, it's kind of like, I think people that are ambidextrous, if you go from one hand to another, it just kind of alters your nervous system and how you're programmed. And maybe it works the same way with writing.
I think it does. And that makes a whole lot of sense. And I think, everybody should take away from this that, I mentioned earlier, I couldn't write stuff down on 3x5 cards. I couldn't do outlines. It wasn't that I couldn't, I just wasn't going to. I've never been one to do it, the way that I was told. I always, and the funny thing is about this, my oldest son is the same way. He wants to do it his way. He knows that he has to get to the eventual end point, and it has to be whatever the teacher says it is. But he's going to get there his own way, and I get my own way. But that's the joy of this. You can try all different sorts of things and find out what works for you. And a lot, we said this before, I don't want to write. I'm not a good writer. What do you do? And we got to close out here because we're running out of time. But what do you do when you don't want to write?
How much time do we have left?
We have about 2 minutes.
Okay, let me give you.
We can spill this over to next week's show too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just give you a quick suggestion that answers that question, and that is, let's be more specific about what you don't like to write, because maybe it's like you don't like to write, for business. But I'll give you. I mean, now, granted, this may be because my dad is in advertising. But he used to turn his creative ability loose on everything, and he particularly enjoyed birth announcements. So, for example, for my birth announcement, he did a takeoff on the TV show Dragnet, except he called it Bassinet.
That's awesome.
And so the takeaway is you don't have to be, think of everyday things. Write, a letter. Write, something personal to someone, and that may kind of get, those juices flowing, and then you can transfer that over to something, more professional.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So, just to wrap up on this topic, one thing that I've found when I don't want to write, when I'm procrastinating, when I just really don't have that, that inspiration, it's similar to when, I go to the gym and I work out and stuff, and I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. But there are times when you're sick and you just, you probably shouldn't go. But, it's one of those things where, and it goes with writing too. You miss one day, it's easier to miss that second day. If you don't miss that first day, it's hard. If you don't miss the first day, you will not miss the second day.
Absolutely.
But if you miss that first day, it's easy to miss the second day. It's easier to miss the third day, and it's really easy to miss that fourth day. And all of a sudden, this thing that you made as a habit because you did 30 days of writing in a row, now you're at 5 days of not writing, and it feels like you have to start all over again. So I say, write when you're sick. Meaning,
there you go.
When you're not feeling well, when you're not feeling it. Don't write about what your deadline is about or whatever. Just write. Write about something else. Write a diary. Write a journal. Do something, but write. You have to write it. I believe you have to write every day in order to become a better writer. That's not that's not a cut and dried rule, but it's a hard and fast rule. You can miss a day or two. Go on vacation. Do your thing. But if you want to get better at writing, you have to write more. And I think if you want to write more, you have to read more.
And just wanted to say thanks to Lee and Teresa. It's always good to kind of hear kind of personal insights on what people do when they get stuck, or little kind of workarounds, or hacks that they have to kind of And so I've really enjoyed this conversation. We definitely need to come back to this. Maybe next week would be a good time to continue this topic.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Next week? Because we're out of time today. I just want to say
I got a whole bunch of stuff I didn't get to, by the way. So.
I know. Well, I have a time constraint today. I'm sorry, but we'll pick this up again next week, and we can continue the conversation in the comments on Facebook. So that's cool. Thanks everybody for joining. Happy Friday. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, great holiday weekend.
So, yeah. It is holiday. I forgot. Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Bye.